All right. Welcome back to Deal Flow Live. Quick heads up, if you're tuning in on TikTok right now, this is live. If you are tuning in anywhere else, we are pre-recording this episode to release at our usual time. Hopefully you can get some value out of this. What we're going to be doing today is what we always do, look at business listings, just like this one you see right now. And we're going to be analyzing the deal, talking about what we do and don't like, what we want to see more of, what we think could be interesting about this deal, pros and cons, and that sort of thing. Ryan, what's on your mind today? How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Any day that we get to do this is a good day. I got this email actually today. It hit my inbox from BizQuest. This one just came on their site. And I thought I had to do a bit of a double take on this one because it's a 70-year-old flooring company, and I was truly shocked to see something this established coming up on the market. Because normally, if you're in that long, you usually it's either a family member or an employee who keeps it moving. So I knew this was a sign that today's episode is going to be a good one. So very excited for this one, Brody.
I'm excited for this one too. Ryan found this one just a little bit ago. It's incredibly established, like you said, been around for 70 years, established in 1953, but it's not a huge business. It's 5 employees, pretty humble little flooring business, probably just a really solid one where they never really looked to grow too crazy. But when you've been around that long, you're going to grow. So this business is doing about 2.5 million or so a year in revenue. They want to sell for about 1.8 million, and they're doing about 500,000 in cash flow. So this is a little over a 3x multiple. So it's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty reasonable price. And I mean, anything that's been around this long, you know that it's solid and it's going to continue to be needed. They probably have a lot of things very figured out already, but at the same time, if it's been around this long, there might be a lot of things that can be done better and that could be improved upon, some innovation that could be had. Ryan, what do you think about retirement for the reason for selling here? I can imagine
It's the classic.
it's been around for 70 years. The person's probably aging out.
This is definitely a second or third owner type situation. Clearly, whoever started it is probably not running it now. But there's clearly been a very careful handoff with this business. So I imagine that the most recent owner and even maybe the last one or two have all worked in the business, because I don't think you last this long without being incredibly knowledgeable about the industry. So very good stuff there. Like you highlighted, 5 employees, lean. It means it's probably all salespeople or mostly salespeople and probably an administrator. My opinion on this whole package is that it looks good from the outlay because they have time on their hands, which is the most valuable asset you can have. And with their numbers and the clarity of those numbers, I don't think there's a ton of room. At least in my opinion, I'm not sure there's as much wiggle room as we see on some of our other businesses for us to really work that price down, because I feel like they have a very strong standing point when they say 70 years and we've been doing well for 70 years. It's real hard to negotiate and move around in those situations. Also, I imagine, so 50K of inventory F&E, it doesn't say on here if it's their building or not. They moved recently to a freestanding building. Leased? Okay. Perfect. Okay, because I was going to say maybe that's included in the price, but no, they're purely off of profit. So, again, must be the excellent reputation. I truly believe in this situation because you don't last this long without that. And they're even giving expansion ideas. Growth can be accomplished by adding outside sales and window coverings, which, I mean, yeah, that seems like a no-brainer to a company like this. They clearly have an established network of people they work with. Clearly, they're not doing the installation; they're just selling the item. So this looks really cool.
I like this too. Residential, commercial, and contracts through government contractors. That's a good diverse range of different types of customers. I like to see that because if if market conditions start affecting things in residential, then they might be fine with their commercial sectors and their government contracts. And if something happens in the commercial sector, they've still got residential happening. They've still got government contracts. It's not dependent on one consistent area of income coming in. I like that diversification. I like that the current owner is offering a staggered training and transition period. It says a 3-month training and transition period. I would probably want to keep them around for longer than that if I was buying this, because there's a lot of things to learn with a 70-year-old business. Also there's just a lot of knowledge that they have running it for that long, even if it is like a second or third owner. But I like that they're open to training. I also really like that it's been pre-qualified by 2 SBA lenders. So if you're looking to go the SBA route with your financing, there's a lot of flexibility there between 2 different lenders. And you've also got them pre-qualified, which means you don't have to go through the trouble of trying to do it your own. What about the fact that there's a broker here, Ryan? What do you think about that?
If it's on a site like this, 99% of the time there's going to be a broker involved. We've talked about this. A broker it's another aspect of the transaction. While you're not maybe dealing with the owner, you're dealing with somebody who is representing the owner, and that does, there are some fees and some payments and some transitional stuff that you get off of your plate when dealing with a broker that they take care of. So it's a nice bit of you get that headache and that cost off your plate a bit. And also, while it's going to be a back and forth, the broker is at the end of the day trying to facilitate a sale. And if it seems reasonable, they're somebody who can, in many cases, help you get across the finish line if they feel that you do have a valid and strong offer for the owner, even if the owner is resistant to it.
Yep. Very true. So there's pros and cons altogether. If you're looking to buy something very solid, I like this business a lot. I don't think like Ryan said, I don't think you're going to get a ton of flexibility on the price, which is okay because it's a solid established business. It's likely that as long as you can get your financing in place, you are going to make your money back with something like this. Great reputation. It's got its lease around through 2025. I don't feel that great about that. I would want to see if it can possibly be extended or something, because it does seem like it's dependent on the showroom. But I like that there's a trained staff in place. Altogether, just a good, solid option.
This is one where I'd feel pretty good about the staff in place, because I don't think that you're cash flowing that much with and doing those sorts of numbers without a very healthy commission staff. So I feel like people are probably being paid very well, or at least the commission structure is good, because they're inside there. It's probably retainer accounts. They're making commission probably flows pretty easily. They get return customers, so I wouldn't be too worried about the staff getting up and leaving. 3 months is a very generous training period for any owner, and I believe that in the talks, there would certainly, I'm sure every owner seems to be open to being paid for consulting and some sort of payment for their information. So as long as you made that one of the stipulations that you'd like to pay them for information past 3 months, rarely does anyone say no to answering a couple texts or an email or going out to lunch and talking about something. So that's certainly something that will be on the table for sure. But no, they've earned that asking price. They've earned what they're getting here. So I mean, this is a great opportunity all in all. Also, yeah, if you ever are wondering what some of these terms are referencing, you can always hit the I and it will give you a breakdown.
Yeah, I like that they do that.
Which is nice. If you go down to the description again, you can see kind of a little bit of their logic for this. This was clearly all done in preparation for a sale. So when it came to their new building, they list a couple of the features that they were excited about, that they're trying to use to entice it. Stating a larger conference area, expanded meeting rooms. So clearly this building was bought with the intention of it being expanded. So that was the part of it, which explains the year-long lease. I suppose if it didn't work out or they didn't get what they were looking to, they could always downsize again. But to me, that's just a 1-year lease of testing the water. And I think
Did they
their
mention what
niche is very solid.
Do they mention what they? Seems like they don't mention what the monthly price is of the lease. So I would want to know that. Obviously, that plays into things a good bit. There's a lot of cash flow here every year. So if prices increased with the lease, not going to be the end of the world. But if it's already very expensive, then it could be a little bit of a big deal. But obviously, there's a good bit of cash flow to be able to support that. If you're getting an SBA loan for something like this, just, back of the napkin math here, it's 1.8 million. You're going to end up having to put down $180,000 somehow as 10% of the purchase price. But 1.8 million minus 180,000, you're going to have 1.62 million remaining. You're going to have to pay that over 10 years. So it's going to be about $162,000 a year. So basically you're getting $500,000 in cash flow to pay down $162,000 a year plus whatever interest they have. So it's probably going to be about 10 or 11% interest. So maybe let's call it 11. It's going to be times 1.11. You're going to have to pay about $180,000 a year to pay off that loan, but you're going to be making about $300,000 after that. So altogether, a very good deal here. Lots of room for error with a business that has already proven that it's solid and has been around for a long time. So I like this one a lot. If you can get the SBA financing, you're in good shape here.
At this point, it's one of those ones where if you know how to if you can get a loan for that 180, you can find somebody who's lending you the 180, even if it is, in my opinion, at an 8, 9, 10% rate. If everything locks in and moves the way it should, you'll be able to pay that down fairly quickly, even if you're paying an extra, of the 300 you're left over with, you're paying that thing back $20K a month, $30K a month, even just going to that initial 180 loan, you're going to pay that thing down no problem, even with the interest. So they're just good.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I'm stumbling because it's just it works out so well.
Yeah, this is a great deal. And like Ryan said, even if imagine that 10% down that you had to pay down, the 180,000, imagine you have to pay that off with, let's go crazy. Let's say it's 15% interest over 2 years, right? So 180,000 divided by 2, you got to pay $90,000, let's say 15% interest. So you got to pay $103,500 a year for the first 2 years. You're still profiting almost $200,000 in cash flow per year after both loans. So if you can find someone to front that 180,000, they're getting a fantastic interest rate to be able to do that. And also you're making a massive profit with something that seems like it has employees running it already. This is one that we like a lot.
I mean, yeah, I may actually reach out to some people I know who do sort of invest in this, even if it was long distance investors. A couple of the ones that I'm aware of, I would be happy giving those terms to them, because number one, 15% on any sort of investment is always going to be something that you want to invest in. If somebody tells me I'll have 15% of it over time, I'm always taking that deal. But I don't mind. I mean, I can easily make that work, especially in a business like this, and I have the extra money to play with to keep the owner on a per diem consulting basis. This is a no-brainer because add window coverings in, you add in a bit more marketing, add on a couple more salespeople as you progress. There's no reason you can't be cash flowing $750 within 3 years. Yeah,
that's exciting. How about for the next business? How do you like this stucco business?
Did we look at that? We might have.
Let's get into it a little bit. It doesn't show what the cash flow is yet.
No, no.
What do you think here?
Well, I don't get enough information to make an educated guess because you definitely have inventory.
This is
Um,
interesting. We haven't gone over one that has working capital included.
we don't like working capital.
Well, I mean, if they don't see it as something that should increase the price, like it honestly, it's basically trading money for money. It's not the way I would recommend making a sale. If I had 100K in my business and I was selling it, I don't necessarily think it makes sense to sell that money because you're just paying 100K for 100K. But if you think of it this way, 100K of working capital, if you're buying that and the asking price is 650,000, basically if you take that 100K out, the actual asking price is 550,000. Now the difference is you have to come up with the money to buy the money. But I would potentially come in here and just ask, hey, would you mind reducing that asking price by 100,000 and just letting the owner take that working capital so that I, the buyer, don't have to come up with money to pay for your money at a dollar per dollar, right? That's my opinion on working capital. That being said, if they're open to that, then the real asking price is only 550,000. This becomes a pretty good deal because that's actually just a little bit over a 2x multiple.
Yeah, working capital is a weird thing to me because you're using it as a selling point, which makes me feel like you're not as open to. Hey, shout out to Boss Group.
Oh yeah,
Quentin.
We've seen a few of their listings.
Yeah, where they're good people over there. So if they're being, it makes me feel a little bit better. I see Boss Group's name. I'm always a little gun shy when I don't see an EBITDA or they're not fully listed out because I know a stucco company clearly has inventory. They definitely have stuff that they're not just buying day of the stucco they need. So the fact that they don't have that disclosed, a little odd, maybe a bit of an issue with the billing or accounting there. It's something that you really want to put on. But again, asking money for money is always a weird transaction to me. But this is based in Florida, which is, I think, the stucco capital of the United States, if not the world. So clearly a business that works.
Lots of relationships with contractors and builders. That's a good thing here. 15 long-term experienced employees in place, all of whom are W-2. That's pretty solid because whenever you've got a lot of businesses work off of a lot of contractor relationships, which is a great flexible model as the business owner. If you're buying a business built off of a bunch of contractor relationships, it can make things a little uncertain because people that are contractors usually they're a little bit more lone wolf types or just entrepreneurial in nature a little bit. They might be a little more apt to decide, if there's going to be new ownership, I might as well just go do it myself. So I like seeing that they're all W-2 because that means they're probably more likely to stay on, in my opinion. It's been around a long time. 1987 is when this started. 15 employees.
That's healthy.
Yeah. So it's been around a long time. It's got a lot of employees working with it. Owners are willing to stay with the business for up to 6 months post-closing to ensure a smooth transition and help drive the business forward. We like to see that. That's always a positive. It says there are great books and records in place. That's obviously being self-reported, so we don't know if that's legit. But that's if true, that's great to hear. They've got some growth plans. You could add to the existing crews, expand into the commercial sectors where they're currently having to turn down work. Interesting. I would want to hear more about that. Anything that's having to turn down work, if there's not if the reason for turning down work is not something that's a limiter for you as a new buyer, then that's a gold mine. Because then all of a sudden you're essentially getting the business at a little bit of a discount because you're only buying what it's actually making.
It's home based, so that's always good. It means that they're probably not in the office every day running it, or it's a more of an administrative role, operational. So it's not going to be terribly taxing on you to take it over because they have people and processes in place. This is a new one. Reason for selling, discuss with seller. So that tells me that there's probably either a very personal or private matter that's garnering this sale. Maybe something they're not terribly comfortable with putting out online. So that's, to me, that is neither red or green flag. That is just existence. So I would come in and be very conscious that you might be dealing with something very personal, which personal issues tend to drive personal prices. And that's not, I'm not saying that as a knock to anything. I'm just saying they might need exactly that much money for something incredibly personal, or like just something incredibly personal. So just know that.
Hello, Alejandro from Portland, Oregon, by the way. We had someone tune in on TikTok that said hello from Portland, Oregon. Hope you're getting some value for sharing, and let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, we can always look at something in Portland, Oregon at some point for Alejandro if he has anything he's looking at. But yeah, just know that just
drop a comment if you do want us to find a business in Portland to look at, if you're still there.
For sure. Just know with that, you might not be getting, there might be no flexibility with that price because that might be something they need for something personal. So it means that they're probably motivated to sell, but come in soft and see what they say.
I would agree. Yeah, altogether, looks like another good deal. We like businesses that have been around a long time like this, that just have solid cash flow. It's a little bit on the lower side as far as what we usually look at. However, with 15 employees, the likelihood is that this business is actually running itself for the most part, I would say. Or a few structural changes could be made so that it is running itself more. The fact that it's home-based means a little more likely that you could run this without having to be so involved. So altogether, a lot of the things that we like to see.
You'll see that trade-off in the EBITDA or the cash flow when it comes to a business that's managed. Less owner management usually means should usually mean a lesser cash flow, because that money is being reinvested into the people who are doing the job, which is something you want to see. So depending on the size and the type of business, you're going to be getting, in this less $250K, nothing to scoff at. That's a great amount of money for that much work. But maybe they'd make like $350 if they just got rid of a manager. But that's kind of where that is. I like this.
I do too. Let's find our next business down here. You see anything that looks interesting?
40-year established plumbing business. They got me right at the title. Asking price $69,000. So
it looks more like a solo operator business. Let's take a look at it.
Probably.
Yeah, this is clearly just a single plumber with a book of business or a business name. Well, I say that, but it says it has 3 employees. Let's read a little bit about it. It's very light in cash flow. Interesting. Yeah. So we don't like to look at businesses this small. You're buying very little cash flow. And often, it's a similar amount of work to buy one business as it is to buy one bigger business, in many cases. Yep. Health issues is what's leading to them wanting to sell. Same owner for 40 plus years, includes all the equipment, lots of equipment. It looks like they list all of it. 40 years of residential and commercial records. They've been around obviously a very long time. I would want to know what the 3 employees are and if they're the ones doing all the plumbing. If that's the case, then this this is a really good purchase, in my opinion, for just an established plumbing company that wants to add a new book of business. Because while the cash flow is light, it's a very low asking price for the amount of cash flow, and it could be a good little like gateway drug of expansion for us, for an established plumbing business that just wants to expand a little bit.
Or if you are a plumber and you want to start your own business and you don't want to do it in your area, or you just want to get a bit of a little boost, this might be for you.
Yeah, that's a really great point. If you are an established plumber and you think that you could step in and maybe you can reduce the costs a little bit, maybe not all of the employees are planning on staying on, and you find that out, and 181 in gross revenue, maybe you could make a lot larger amount of cash flow by running it yourself, or maybe you feel like you could grow it very quickly.
Oh, for sure.
Altogether though, if you're someone who's just trying to buy a business to be able to support your lifestyle and you aren't established in this industry already, for a business this small, like, I personally wouldn't recommend looking at something like this. I don't think it makes a ton of sense.
No, this is more of an addition or a book buy. You're not getting this is just, and this is so specific to trades. It's niche, which is what we like, but it's a little bit light for somebody who wants to be an operator or to own something in a portfolio.
This does make me want to look at another plumbing business, though. What about you?
Yeah, no, let's keep it in the trades.
Yeah, I'd like to look at maybe a bigger plumbing business. Let's see if we can.
Wow, there's some unique things out this week. I'm always so
we haven't really done a breakdown of a plumbing business. I'm going to try searching plumbing in Florida. Oh, hold on. Let me hone it down. We'll go Florida plumbing. Long-standing plumber. This one looks a lot bigger. Riviera Beach, Florida. How about this?
This looks good. Let's see if the owner is the plumber. Plumber and 2 plumbing assistants.
Interesting. Cash flow looks good, but if it's just a plumber and 2 plumbing assistants, aside from owner. Okay. So there's a
plumbers and plumbing assistants.
A plumber and 2 plumbing assistants that it seems like will be staying in the business. Also 2 other employees, it sounds like. So I would be curious about what they do. But if there are plumbers on board to do the plumbing, then you as the owner would not have to do the plumbing, obviously. So that's a big positive
need a license
here.
For this as well. You're gonna need a specific license.
You are going to?
Yep, because on the bottom, owner may allow his license to be utilized by buyer to agreed upon terms. So that's something else to factor into your cost. But that doesn't mean it's off the table.
Yeah. So in this case, this is the case a lot of times. Owner may allow his license to be utilized by buyer at agreed upon terms. What that probably means is that, like, maybe the asking price is going to get increased just a little bit in order for him to be willing to do that. Or he might just ask that he be paid a certain amount extra per year to keep the license on and to be available. Or maybe you talk him into just keeping a little bit of his equity and being the license holder. A lot of times, though, there are specific rules for whether the owner has to own a certain, or the license holder has to own a certain amount of the business. I don't know whether that's the case for plumbing or not. I know it's the case for some other industries that I've worked in. So you would want to know that and make sure that it's something you can actually do. Could also be worth trying to get the license. Maybe you agree that the owner is going to stay on with the license for a certain amount of time, and you're going to go get the license to be the continued owner. Because honestly, this one's a really good deal. Cash flow of $209,000, and then the asking price is $375. So it's less than a 2 times multiple, and It
And
says,
the
I mean,
EBITDA
it says
is
it.
132, which is pretty exact.
Yep, yep. And it sounds like, I mean, it sounds like kind of a lifestyle business. Whenever you see EBITDA less than cash flow like that, pretty standard for a business this small. It just means that the owner had certain things. Maybe he was paying for a vehicle out of the business expenses that doesn't actually have to be used for the business anymore with a new owner or something like that. So, altogether, I mean, it's priced competitively for a quick sale. It sounds like they want to retire quickly. It sounds like, this one sounds pretty good. I like this one a lot.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice.
Established
This is
2004. It's been around longer than 10 years, way longer than 10 years, which we like to see. Almost 20 years. Well, about 20 years.
And they make a very good point about the Palm Beach area that's exploding. So this is definitely a business where if you could get a couple extra hands in, really start getting that marketing out, get some more vans out, really could probably do get a lot of market share if you're the quickest.
Palm Beach County is growing. There's a shortage of qualified plumbers. There's really a national shortage of qualified plumbers. So great industry. I would be interested in exploring this one more. I'm going to
Sure.
I'm going to open this on another tab and save it for later.
We got that one. We got the electrician. We got the found a couple good ones there. We're gonna have to follow up on.
You see anything else in here that you want to take a look at?
Nothing that really fits our buy box on the similar listings.
Let's look at something bigger. One thing I like about BizQuest and most sites a lot is you can really filter down to exactly what you're looking for. So I'll show you kind of from the beginning here. I'm on the first page here on the businesses for sale, not the franchises for sale, but businesses for sale. So I'm going to hit Florida as the location. That's where we're located. And actually, I'm going to go down all the way to Central Florida if it'll let me. We'll see. Looks like it's not going to let me, but I'm going to do Orlando, where we're located. And then I'm going to do a search, but then I'm going to hone it down to a specific industry. Any industry you'd like to check out, Ryan?
Well, do we want to stick with what we're interested in, or do we want to grab something out of a different industry than we normally go on?
Yeah, let's keep it service based, kind of in the home services space. Maybe construction and subcontractors. That might be a little bit outside of it. Let's try.
It's not something we're necessarily, it's not our niche per se, but maybe somebody watching will.
Not a lot of options there. Let's head back. Let's try a different industry. Let's try home and garden. And we'll just keep it broad. So this will include some home services type things. Huh.
Went right back to the subcontractors.
That is odd. I don't know why I did that. Let's try that again. Home and garden. Well,
we're in kind of a loop here.
Let's just try looking here. So businesses for sale in Orlando, Florida. Let me know if anything catches your eye. What about this?
I was just about to say that looks pretty good.
Yeah, I know junk removal businesses usually do really well. I'm gonna disqualify this one though because the cash flow is not listed. I don't like that because it makes it difficult for us to really know whether this is a good deal or not. But let's keep
It very well
trucking.
be, but we don't like to deal with unknowns like that.
Let's do this. Let's go for a certain amount of cash flow. I'm going to sort by the cash flow here. Let's go cash flow high to low. And so it'll start by showing us the biggest businesses. It seems like it still just wants to go back to that same list of 2. There's some kind of issue going on here if I try to filter it all. Here we go. This might help a little bit.
We've seen that one.
How about this? This is an expensive business.
You know what? Let's do a cabinet business because we see those all the time.
This looks like this is a franchise. Well, no, maybe not. Maybe not. But they don't list the cash flow, so that's a little bit of an issue. How about this guy? Water pumps, filtration pumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this too. Our thing lately, if you're tuning in here, our thing lately has been specialized home services. That's an area that we're very interested in, just because these are the types of things that when you need it, like plumbing, electrical work, AC work. If you're dealing with issues with something like that, usually you need someone to fix that ASAP. And so they're able to charge a pretty good amount of money for that. And a lot of times you're dealing with pretty solid employees with businesses like that. They're people that have had to go to trade school or something like that, learn the trade. And they're usually really looking to work hard and make good money. And as long as you take good care of them, they want to stay around. So we've been very interested in businesses like this because of that. So asking price, what do you think of the financials here, Ryan?
It's a bit of a larger multiplier. I mean, 25, 50, 75. So it's a 3x multiplier. A little bit higher, but I'm honestly not that concerned. I mean, the gross revenue to the asking price isn't terrible, and the cash flow to gross revenue is pretty close. So I mean, 180,000 in FF&E is also getting tacked onto that asking price. So I'm very much in alignment with this. I think they're doing a good job with the asking price.
Yeah, it's actually under a 3x multiple. I just checked. It's a 2.8x multiple, which is not too bad. With the 180,000 of supplies that come with it. That's interesting. So I would want to know like how much of that can be sold off. If you can sell some of that off, that's not needed for a decent, like if you don't need all of this FF&E that it owns, basically that means furniture, fixtures, and equipment. There could be a lot of equipment that is not needed, and maybe you could take like 50% of that to an auction and sell it for half the price, and then you get some of your money back right away even.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid one.
They've been around almost 20 years. Only one employee. So I would want to know what that employee does, whether if they're basically running the entire thing themselves, then great. I would imagine with
60 hours of work a week. So that definitely implies that if you're I'm not sure if that's like 60 hours of like owner operator work, or if that's 60 hours of like billable hours worked. I'm not really sure what they're getting at with that.
My guess is that's saying that the current owner is working 60 hours, because I mean, if there's only one other employee, I think there's a lot of stuff to do with a business like this. So this seems like one where you would probably have to find an operator, someone to manage the other employee, or to at least handle a lot of the administrative stuff here. They've got very clean accounting records. A lot of times small businesses like this, they're doing their own accounting. So I would want to know if that's the case. You might be able to take off some of those hours per week by just outsourcing the accounting. Broker will assist with SBA guaranteed loan. Lots of misspellings. Not going to fault him for that.
No, just 60 hours a week is a lot to ask somebody to pay for.
That is a lot. So to be honest, if I was trying to buy this business, I mean, I would probably be knocking down the asking price a little bit, or asking for some seller financing where the owner stays around and helps you make it something that doesn't have to take 60 hours of work per week, because you're basically paying for a very expensive, albeit profitable, job that you have to do. And it's very expensive. 60 hours is all of your time working pretty much in a normal work week plus more. So it's not like that's an amount that someone's not going to be willing to work. But if you're buying this to try to expand it, and that's the current state that it's in, it's going to make that kind of difficult for you.
It's not impossible. It's just a bit of an uphill battle. And it's how much do you want to do that? If you're passionate about this, this is what you want to do, this is perfect. But I think for the majority of people, the idea of working 12 hours a day is 5 days a week is pretty draining just mentally to think about.
Yep, I would agree with that. And so, I mean, some pros and cons of this one. I honestly would just want to see if they're open to any kind of like flexibility on what the terms are. But do you want to look at one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right. How about this guy? 45-year-old electrical contracting company.
West Palm Beach, man. There's a lot of West Palm businesses coming up for sale. There
are. I saw literally another electrical contracting business there as well.
All right, this is tiny, small, but reasonable.
Yeah, this one's a good deal. This is again under a 2x multiple. I would want to know why they're underpriced, to be honest. This is great too. $50,000 of seller financing at 6%, only 6% for 24 months. This is honestly this is a too good to be true type of deal. So that could be great, but I would want to know why, to be honest. I would definitely have questions about why they want to retire, or why they want to sell so quickly. It's so underpriced.
It's
maybe retirement. They have plenty of money saved aside and they just don't care. 6 employees, stellar reputation.
More information. If this is just a really generous guy who doesn't need the money, great. But really, we find that out when we look at tax forms and the Sims of the last 5 years, at least the last 2 years of tax forms for something like this.
Seller may consider staying on as the license qualifier until an experienced buyer can get their own contractor license. Interesting. 50% residential new construction, 10% commercial, 20% generators. An experienced crew of 5 full-time employees, all on W-2. That's great.
It's good. It's a really nice deal. I just want to know why.
I would want to know why as well. I mean, it could be that they're just, I mean, you don't know how old the owner is. They could be like really, really old and just really want to get out. Or they could they could just have substantial savings set aside where they're not too worried about getting as much money as they need for retirement. Could be a lot of different factors, but certainly a good competitive price here with seller financing available. I mean, the 10% of the asking price is only $39,000, and they're offering $50,000 in seller financing. So, I mean, you might even be able to cover the rest of what's left after seller financing with an SBA loan.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like this situation a lot, actually. I feel like this is one where if you came in here and took control of this business and paid down the debt that it took to buy it very quickly, you could probably turn around and sell it for more than you bought it for if you just were willing to wait longer than it seems like this one is willing to wait and ask a little bit more. Maybe get some good systems in place.
Yeah, I think this is more of a come in, clean up, and if you wanted to sell it for at least another $200,000 probably.
Yeah, I mean, even if you sold it for a 2.5 times multiple, then you'd be selling it for, let's see, 200. If the cash flow stayed exactly the same and you sold it for a 2.5x multiple, which is pretty standard for a business this size, then you could be potentially making like a $100,000 profit on this business after the asking price. And not to mention the cash flow that you actually put in your pocket while you were holding on to it. This one seems like a good deal to me. I like this a lot.
I think it's a very good deal. That's Palm Beach County. That's where the deals are.
Yeah, I've noticed that. It's a very up and coming area. It's established, but it's growing fast. So I feel like businesses like this have probably been around for a while and are just continuing to grow more and more and more because the population is growing so much, and people like to go to established businesses that have a good history for things like this. So, it's probably grown pretty easily without doing anything crazy for marketing and advertising. That would be my guess. So you might be able to even grow the business a little bit.
Oh, for sure. I think it's just how much work do you want to put into it?
Well, on that note, Ryan, any parting notes about the businesses we've looked at today?
I would say always keep your eyes open, always be diligent. Just because it's a cheap one doesn't mean it's always going to be a good one. Remember, SBA pre-approved is a big old help, because that means the business itself has gone through the process of getting SBA approved, and that's not always easy. So finding 10% can be a lot easier than finding 20% down. So always be on the lookout for those, and understand your blind spots. Know where you can, know where you have people to help you understand something, and don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, hopefully you got something out of this episode. If you are looking to buy a business, hopefully you learned a little bit about what to look for, what types of businesses are out there, what types of businesses we're interested in and why, and what you should be looking at and asking when you're exploring specific opportunities. And if you're looking to sell your business, hopefully you learned a little bit about how you should be marketing it, a little bit about what types of things appeal to someone who would want to buy it. And until next time, this has been Deal Flow Live. Thanks for tuning in.